So I went to a tiny little village, there was only 500 people in the village, and there were only 60 in the school, and so you'd spend 2 years in the same room and then move to the second room for 2 years, and my elementary education was like really basic country stuff, a lot of time in the sandbox. And then my brother had got into a private school when he was 11, and so I also got into this private school, and when I got there, it was literally like Hogwarts. It was just like Hogwarts. I had to wear myself a little tie with stripes on it, a little burgundy tie, and got dressed in a black blazer, and I went to a castle on a hill. And when I got there, it was a boarding school, so the people lived up in the towers. There were houses, you were sorted into houses, and I was taught by people in black robes. I swear to God. I spent 7 years in Austin Friars. And I did 2 years of post-high school there in Austin Friars, like pre-college. So I had to go to the train station and pretend I was waiting for a train. So I got there about 2 a.m. I just sat with my book down in the subway because all the platforms were shut but the subways were open. So I was just sitting there. And 2 Japanese tourists who were obviously young and they were lost and they were a bit scared, saw me and they thought I was friendly, so they were also sitting with me. So they came and sat down. And then a German came along and he was pushing a bike and he had a German Shepherd dog, and he had obviously done this before. So he had a sleeping bag and hello, different, the Englishman, 2 Japanese and a German. Came and he opened his sleeping bag, the dog got in his sleeping bag, zipped up the sleeping bag. So we were forming this kind of group down in the subway. And then some other people joined us, I forget, there were some Swiss and some other folk, and it was like a bit of camaraderie, but no one could speak each other's languages. It was really weird. And then I swear this is the truth. While we were all settled in, quite happy, a lady came round the corner with a tray, and it had homemade biscuits on it and tea for us. And she didn't speak, she just laid it down and walked off, and we all, so we had like a party down. So we drank hot tea and we ate biscuits and we had a good time. And then 5 a.m. trains opened up and went on my way. So it was December 30th, the day before the millennium. It was like 1999, right at the millennium. And everyone was very excited and people were going to Sydney and I just didn't have money for it. So I stayed in this farm stay. And an American girl turned up at this farm stay. And I remember washing dishes and I heard her voice. I was like, God, that's a different voice. And this was Amy from Conway. Anyway, a couple of days later we'd had the New Year and it was all very good, and then she was going into the desert. She was a bit of an anthropologist and she wanted to find Mungo Man, which was the Australian equivalent of Lucy in Africa, one of the ancient relics of human existence, like hominids. So Mungo Man had been discovered, and so she wanted to go out into the desert, and so I asked if I could join her, and we went out together and we camped for days and did not find Mungo Man, but we bonded a bit. And then she dropped me off at Tumut, which is another place for fruit picking. And that was how the relationship began. And we stayed together, and then I invited her up north, and we went diving on the Great Barrier Reef towards the end. And we also went into Alice Springs, to Uluru, to Ayers Rock. And then when we finished Australia, I took her back to England, and we were looking for jobs. And
played the bagpipes, right? When did you learn that, and how has that stayed with you?
Right, so, just told you that I was Scottish parents, lived in Scotland, Edinburgh every year, but nobody taught me. There was no mention of learning the pipes. It was like some sort of mystical art that other people did, and there was no window in for me. And I'd been told since that it would cost, thousands and thousands of dollars to learn the pipes, so it's a very exclusive art. Festival at it, so I went there as a parent. And there was this bagpiper on the stage just walking up so you come to the armory, you're able to pick you up. And I felt as though I couldn't look the gift horse in the mouth, I couldn't say no to that. It was free, it was great, it was close. And so I started learning the pipes and I learned on the chanter. But I was very slow to that, people don't really enjoy the practicing when you're bad. So I became a piper then, and I've now been a piper for about 2 years, 2.5 years. With an older brother. I had an older brother for 29 years, and my brother lived in Carlisle with my parents, kind of thing. He lived close, and he had married a beautiful girl, and they had built a life together. And she was pregnant with a child when he died. He had a shocking brain aneurysm. He just, kind of one day felt dizzy and fell over, and he died. And that was a real, it's a tragedy. And I was already in Arkansas, so I was far away from it. And so it didn't really hit me at the time. I went over, I saw his body, we buried him and such. But I think the sadness is still yet to come out of me on that, because I didn't experience it acutely. So I've had to kind of deal with it kind of third hand. He had an enormous heart. I mean, it was very nice, very humble, but he had an enormous heart, and he was like a rock. He was very steady. And I remember when I was shaky and flaky, he would always be very steady. So it is a sadness with me, and because I have kids, and of course his son has grown up without him, so there's a bit of a gap there. And the more I grow my own children, the more I wish I could ask him things, and I feel like we could have bonded closer with being parents or being fathers. And so there's a sadness there that I'm still kind of experiencing.
By yon bonny banks and by yon bonny braes, where the sun shines bright on